Hello, Midnight Coders, and welcome to a series where we are going to build you a portfolio. So, in this short series, we are going to have a look at what Spring is, what the difference between it and Spring Boot is, as well as we're going to build a portfolio so that you can showcase your work, your experience, and overall, yourself. This is going to include a login, registration, blog, and a comment and reply system. So, as always, make sure you've got that full cup of coffee, and let's dive on in. I'm going to be throwing around a lot of terms in this video. So, I'd like to link the most commons with their definitions in the description below. Okay? What is Spring Framework? Spring Framework is a comprehensive Java framework for building enterprise-grade applications. It often features things like dependency injection, AOP, and modulars such as Spring MVC, Spring Security, Spring Data JPA, Spring JDBC, and it does require a considerable amount of configuration for the dispatch servlet, the view resolvers, and even for security, which is most often a lot of XML files. So what about Spring Boot? What is Spring Boot? Spring Boot is built on top of Spring Framework, simplifying the process by providing auto configuration, starter dependencies, and an embedded server such as Tomcat, Jetty, Undertow, or something else. It allows developers to create standalone, production-ready applications with minimal setup time. It also allows developers to make web interfaces or web pages using a built-in rendering engine like TimeLeaf. So you can almost think of Spring like Java, whereas the projects from Spring, such as Spring Web, Spring Data JPA, Spring Data JDBC, Spring Security, yada, 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 these are almost like the dependencies that you would need to build your Java application. Now, Spring Boot is sort of a way to tell the system that I need this, I need that, a little bit of this, some of that into my project. And the system will provide you a neat little project with all of the needed dependencies and libraries loaded in, and the project is ready to launch, bootstrapping your overall project development and getting you directly into your business logic. So what does that look like? Let's dive into the code. Here we are, guys. Here's where it all begins. Here's where we all started as Spring developers. Spring.start or start.spring.io. Link is in the description. Here we can choose our project's build type, whether we want it to be Gradle or Maven. We can choose whether we want it to be Java, Kotlin, or Groovy, and we can even choose the version of Spring that we're going to use. In our case, we're going to use 4.0.6, and then we can provide our group ID. So we can say dev.midnightcoder. And for those of you that are unaware, the group ID is generally you as a developer, your domain in reverse. So where I am midnightcoder.dev, I am dev.midnightcoder. This application is going to be Portfolio. We want this to be a jar. We want to use Java 25, sorry. And I'm going to use properties because I'm still very unfamiliar with using YAML. Um, And now from here, we would come over to our dependencies and we would search through this massive cluster for the dependents that we need. For example, Spring Web in order to view things. We would also need Timeleaf to render things. We're also going to need security, Spring Security for authentication, authorization, logins, and so forth. Other things that we're going to need here, um, I'm going to use Lombok just so that I can generate some getters and setters and be very lazy about it, as well as a couple of no args or required args constructor. So we're going to add Lombok here as well. Now that should be just enough. So how do we go from here? We click this button down bottom and it generates us the code. This will go ahead and generate us a zip file, which you will then take and go out to your project. Now, what's another way to do this? The other way to do this is to jump in to a new project in IntelliJ, my favorite IDE of choice. I can go here on the left side to the generators, select Spring Boot, name my well, I can pick my location, which for the sake of this, we're going to stick it in YouTube. And I'm then going to say this is the portfolio. And again, I want Java. I want Maven. It already has my group. It added my artifact. So now I select 25. I want this to be 25. I want a jar. I want properties. I want to move on. I'm going to pick Lombok. I'm going to pick Spring Web. I'm going to pick Timeleaf. We're going to take Spring Security. We're also going to need a way to store this. So we're going to need Spring Data JPA. And we're going to, for now, use an H2 database in memory because it's simple. And we will connect to that, and that will be easily swapped out for a Postgres or SQL in the future. So for now, that is all we need. And I just click Generate Project. Here we go. Let's focus in. So this gave us, out of the box, a project that we can run. This is just taking a moment to catch up with downloading all of the jars. However, we could run this when it's ready, and let's go. And we are up and going on port 8080. We can see that down here. If we zoom in on our console a little bit and then bring it over here, we can see that, there we go. These were the messages that came in. We can get all this, yada, yada. But then we can see down here, Tomcat started on port 8080, and it started the application in just under 2.5 seconds. There. That is our portfolio out of the box. So what next? All right, so next, I'd like to get something on the screen that we can see. So let's create a controller. We're going to make a new class. This is going to go into the controller package, and we're just going to call this sitemap. And in here, we are going to start out by annotating this with controller. Now, what a controller is it just implies that this is going to handle some HTTP traffic. Now, we can provide a specific domain on this, but by default, it's going to use your domain. In our case, that is localhost. That is going to be the root. Now, in here, we would want to make some kind of a method. In our case, this is going to be a public string, and we're just going to say something like get get home page, and we're going to return index. Now we're going to annotate this guy with a get mapper, which is going to be right at the root directory. So now, by default, Spring Boot will look for the applicable HTML file that is named whatever it is that we're providing here in the string. So if we were to pop into resources, templates, make a brand new HTML file, and we're going to call this index. We're going to call this one here developer portfolio, and we can worry about filling that out with more information later. Woo, hello, midnight coders. And that's what we want to see. So now if we come back here, this is now highlighted and it is underlined. You probably can't see that, but it is highlighted and underlined perfect. So if we want here, we can middle mouse on this and it takes us into here. So what does that look like? Let's rerun our application and crack open a browser. And if we just go to localhost 8080, we end up at a sign-in page because we did not allow that through security. Because we have security going by default, everything is locked down. So if I just pop into our POM and we comment out the security aspect, comment that out for now, not rerun, resync, rerun, then try this again. We pop in here, and bada boom, bada bing, hello, Midnight Coders. Also, flashbang. So, what next? All right, so what is it that I just did? Okay, that was the use of Spring Web that allowed us to configure an endpoint and have our users return an HTML page. Spring Web is a module of the Spring framework that helps web development capabilities. It integrates features such as multi-part file uploading, initializes the IOC, which is the inverse of control. It helps servlet listeners on a web-oriented application, and additionally, it includes a HTTP client and web-related parts. Uh, Next, we're gonna take a little deep dive next into what time leaf is and what it is that we can do with our web. We're going to figure out how we can make a user register and log in, and we are going to find out what the heck Spring Security is all about. Additionally, what's the difference between authentication and authorization? You got to stick around to find out. And if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've learned something. If so, hit that thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss part 2. As always, everybody, keep your curiosity open, your skills sharp, and that coffee cup full. I'll catch you in the next one.